Cool Cat Saves the Kids, The Cat in the Hat, 9 Lives, and now Cats. Hollywood really needs to stop fucking making cat movies!
Ho 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 ho, delightfully devilish, Seymour.
Yes, everybody, welcome back to Delightfully Devilish, the show where we discuss films that all at once meet the criteria of being the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm your host, Jukebox Harry, and today we are looking at one of the biggest musical misfires in Hollywood history. Cats is a 2019 musical fantasy film based on the 1981 musical of the same name. I have never seen that musical, but if this film is truly a faithful adaptation of that musical, then I never in my entire life want to see that piece of shit. I have very mixed feelings about traditional Hollywood musicals. Now, I am a big fan of both Chicago and Fiddler on the Roof, but I personally prefer my musicals to be a bit left of center, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show or especially Phantom of the Paradise. But other musicals like Grease, The Sound of Music, or even Les Miserables, another film by today's director, they're all fucking terrible. I hate these movies, and that's why when Cats failed at box office and swept the Golden Raspberry Awards, I had a huge smile on my face. Cats has all the makings of a successful Hollywood musical. It has the Academy Award-winning director behind the film The King's Speech, which itself was a brilliant film. It has a list of stars which include popular contemporary stars, popular contemporary singers, and cinematic icons like Ian McKellen and Judi Dench. And it's actually based on the musical which started the mega musical phenomenon. But like Elton John says, there comes a time when castles fall, and this one fell and crashed really hard for a lot of reasons. One of which is the fact that it was released in an unfinished state. There was CGI glitches in this movie where you could actually see human hands when you should have seen paws. And there is even a cut of this movie where the characters all have buttholes apparently. And that actually sounds remarkable. I am all for releasing the butthole cut, because honestly, it's got to be funnier than the piece of shit that this movie ended up being. The film opens with a tune that sounds like the soundtrack to John Carpenter's Christine performed by an uncoordinated bagpipe player. It's a whole bunch of blaring synthesizer effects, and I'm sick of it before the film is even 2 minutes in.
Are you blind when you're born? Can you see in the dark? Can you look at a king?
Would you sit on his throne?
So this anthropomorphic cat has just rocked up and you're already just gonna probe her with questions about who she is. Like, why would you do that?
Because jellicles can and jellicles do.
Jellicles do and jellicles can.
Jellicles can and jellicles do. Jellicles do and jellicles can. Jellicles can.
I do not know what jellicle means. I don't want to know, but I don't think it's a particularly spadoinkle word. This song actually puts the entire movie in perspective. It's a fuck of a bummer to look at, and it seemingly expects you to know exactly what the word jellicle means from the get-go. I can't help but wonder if the writers of the original musical were just playing a joke on everyone and wanted to see if audiences in the musical theatre would pretend, "Oh yes, I know what jellicle means. I raised my children in a jellicle household. I snorted a line of jellicle cocaine off the boner of a jockey I met at the country club down by the river." This song is basically them indoctrinating the protagonist into a feline cult, and the song repeatedly uses the word jellicle in place of any fraction of actual sensibility. Hey, you know what else begins with a C? It's another 4-letter word with the letter T in it. And I think the definition of that term is the person who created this musical in the first place. At some point in this song, I realized that the misguided language has completely distracted me from the remarkably strange appearances of these anthropomorphic cats dancing around on an oversized set. If the song is weird enough for me to take my mind off just how weird the visuals are, that really says something. And at one point, Idris Elba pops up. And this has me thinking, since he is a person of color, but he's playing a cat in this movie, if we subscribe to the belief that black cats automatically bring bad luck, does that mean we're racist?
Fierce, faithful and true to others who do.
What?
Apparently he's with me. He's very confused as to why this feline cult is dancing around like this.
Practical cats, dramatical cats, pragmatical cats,
Fanatical cats. Oratorical cats. Metaphorical cats.
I know some of these words.
critical cats,
Parasitical cats. Allegorical cats. Metaphorical cats.
Hang on. Metaphorical cats? Cats that exist purely in theory? You mean like Schrodinger's cat? Is Schrodinger's cat gonna be in this movie? I feel like I'm meant to be impressed with the dance choreography in this scene, but there is way too much weird shit going on for me to appreciate a single thing. But finally, Idris Elba cuts it short.
Going to the ball, I wouldn't if I were you. Could get dangerous.
Of course you wouldn't go. You're a black cat. The police would shoot you on sight for being a cat person of color.
There's no one like McCavity.
Oh, we're singing again. I haven't a clue what's going on, and if you're just gonna sing everything, then that won't make it easy. And if the first song is a sign of the cryptic language in the songs to come, I have no hope to ever figure a thing out.
So, what's your name?
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Cat got your tongue?
No, stop right there. You cannot make a movie which is a joke, based on a musical which is no doubt a joke, and then pretend like you have a shred of dignity to be able to get away with making cat puns. No.
Victoria.
Victoria.
Yeah, that's the state of Australia that's run by a tyrannical dictator according to COVID conspiracy theorists.
The naming of cats is a difficult matter.
You talk too much.
But I tell you, a cat needs a name that's particular, a name that's peculiar and more dignified. Else how can he keep up his tail perpendicular, or spread out his whiskers, or cherish his pride?
I want to know exactly what drugs Andrew Lloyd Webber was taking when he made Cats, and exactly what drugs made people back in the 1980s think, yes, this is a good idea. This song is something about names, but they stop singing to perform a mysterious dance routine.
The cosmic ballet goes on.
Does anyone want to switch seats?
The Jellicle leader will soon appear and make what is known as the Jellicle choice.
I'm just going to assume at this point that Jellicle is a synonym for completely drug-fucked. This movie actually makes more sense if I think of it as an allegory for heroin addiction.
I have a Gumby cat in mind.
Gumby? The lovable claymation character from the 1950s? You're dragging him into this?
Her name is Jenny Anydots.
What kind of parent gives their kid a stupid cunt name like that?
Once again, Rebel Wilson plays Rebel Wilson, but as a fairy this time. And as always, she's a one-dimensional routine of crude humor and constantly falling over. I hate what Hollywood has done to Rebel Wilson. She is a charismatic performer and a very talented singer. We saw her provide a lot of great comic relief in Pitch Perfect, although she will never top her role as Taller on Pizza. Now that is classic. The problem is that she's become a one-dimensional joke in Hollywood that it keeps jamming into everyone's faces, trying to be like, you have to think she's funny. You have to think she's funny. We've put so much time into it. Rebel Wilson is funny. No, Rebel Wilson is funny, but not the way you're treating her, Hollywood. It's just shithouse. You know who else was funny? Chris Farley, rest in peace. He was one of the funniest people to ever appear on Saturday Night Live, and he had a brief career in Hollywood. But when he made the film Beverly Hills Ninja, which was a one-dimensional series of jokes about him falling over and getting injured and being slightly above average weight, yeah, it actually hurt him inside when he saw that film. And people are trying to make Rebel Wilson another Chris Farley. Not the good part of Chris Farley, the Beverly Hills Ninja Chris Farley. Even though I do have a soft spot for that film, I'll say. The point is, it's not a good idea. Ah, shit, we have singing mice too.
And that's what makes a Gumby cat.
You keep on saying words like Jellicle and Gumby, and I don't think you even know what they mean.
I think that the cockroaches need employment.
I think that the cockroaches need employment. That is an actual line from this song. This was a successful musical on stage, with a line like that. God, what is wrong with this world?
Earthman, what a shithole.
Oh, it's because there are dancing cockroaches in this movie. So this is what fans of musical theatre love. This is the culture they've built their lives upon, dancing cockroaches. Jenny just keeps eating cockroaches in this scene, so I guess this song is one big fat joke.
It's a little old-fashioned, don't you think?
What in the fuck is old-fashioned about that? Then some cat named the Rum Tug Tugger comes in, desperate to steal everyone's attention like a typical theatre kid.
Let's dance!
Yeah, or we could not.
The Rum Tum Tugger is a terrible bore.
You got that right.
I could dance like that. If I felt like it.
Stop milking it.
You don't get to say that, Rebel Wilson. Your entire career right now is you just milking it.
The border of her coat is torn and stained with sand.
I don't like sand.
We're 30 minutes into this film so far, and there is no sign of any plot. It's literally, look at how eccentric this cat is, invent new word, several musical numbers, move on, and repeat with different cat.
Oh no, look what the cat dragged in.
Oh yeah, and Rebel Wilson pretending like she's still funny. Yeah, the only thing that's actually missing from this film is a cat played by Amy Schumer coming in and making a bunch of pussy jokes.
He wants to be reborn as a thin cat so he can get fat all over again.
Oh, so rebirth is a theme in this film? Yeah, you can drop the word Jellicle 300 times but can't actually explain what the fuck is going on?
In fact, I'm remarkably fat.
No, cats are not fat. The word is chunky. Meow. This cat is the Grim Reaper, apparently.
The name of this bubble of cats.
the word brummel refers to an 18th century English dandy who was obsessed with his physical appearance. Yeah, that's not an everyman term. This is a word that can only be understood by an elitist crowd, by a very highly sophisticated and highly cultured crowd that looks down their nose at everyone. This movie is a bigger testament to vanity than I could have thought. The furries dance around and eat trash during this song, and then they're singing about jewelry.
Suddenly misses her Woolworth pearls.
Wow, I didn't even know the Woolworth sold pearls. After about 35 minutes in this film, I still didn't know what was actually happening. In reality, I was actually having flashbacks. The sheer display of hollow vanity in this movie reminded me a lot of my experiences in musical theatre. For the record, I had a very brief 2-year tenure in musical theatre. Now, I cannot seem to save myself. One of my good friends, Benji, accurately describes me as someone who sings like an angel getting castrated. And yet in 2015, I ended up getting cast in a musical parody of The Hunger Games because they had run out of actors and they needed someone to fill the slot. So this motherfucker signed up. Personal story time. While I was working on this production, I felt like I was a part of something. Even though I wasn't particularly talented, I thought I was amongst a group of friends. But once this production was over and they moved on to the next one, apparently the friendship just completely ended right there. I was the only person who auditioned for their next production and then did not receive a call to say whether or not I had been cast. I was then promised a role on the production team, which they gave to someone else and then never bothered to contact me about that. And here's the worst part. I was dating someone on the production team who one day said, yeah, I think I need a break. And still to this day has not contacted me again, even though she promised to, so apparently I still might be dating her. I know it sounds like I'm having a petty bitch right now, and I most definitely am. You're probably asking, what the hell does this have to do with the movie Cats? Well, I look at this film and it's a mess. It's a lot of weird flashy imagery which celebrates a culture of vanity, and there is no substance to it. So I feel like it accurately reflects the worst side of musical theatre. The side that's about putting people out on stage so they can shamelessly make themselves the center of attention for periods of time solely to boost their own egos, when behind the scenes they don't actually have any heart. I've met many wonderful people in musical theatre who I'm still friends with to this day, but I've also met a lot of vain and inconsiderate assholes who still haven't returned to claim the knives they've put in my back. I watch Cats, and all that I can think is that the minds who thought this piece of shit story was worth celebrating with theatrical flash are the same people who don't have any regard for the efforts of the individuals who make it happen. And the fact that it was such a colossal failure sincerely makes me happy, because nothing about this film deserves success. Despite the talents of the people involved, this is a shameless vanity project of the worst kind, and it accurately reflects the worst side of musical theatre. I watch films because I want an experience, because I want it to be taken away from reality, or I want to be challenged or something. This actually brings me back to a very dark part of my own reality. This might just be a sole experience for me, but the fact that this movie is a feel-bad experience during a sensitive time of COVID stage 4 lockdown where life is already shit and meaningless enough, this movie is making existence worse. Cats is honestly a plague on existence. Fuck this movie, guys.
It seems we're on a barge in the middle of the Thames.
What are you doing here?
Good question.
Predictably, they just meet another eccentric cat of a different nature and we get another musical number. I thought the song and dance number from The Cat in the Hat was ridiculous. I thought the 2 musical numbers from Cool Cat Saves the Kids were awful. They have nothing on this piece of shit movie. The story repeats with some cat called Deuteronomy. All the cats in this movie just have terrible names. My boy Josh has a cat named Lucy. We call her Goose. That is a good cat name. My next door neighbor has a chunky white cat. I don't know its name, but I call it Marshmallow because that is a good cat name. Now, if we were to take influence from this movie and name our cats accordingly, we would have cats named Constable Reggie and Event Horizon and Medium Fries. You see how fucking ridiculous that sounds? Extended dance number, more and more singing.
Should I take chances when no one took chances on me?
No, I took a chance on this movie and instead of enjoying myself, I am having Vietnam flashbacks to a dark time in my life.
All that I wanted was to be wanted.
Oh, now we're gonna pretend like we have character development. No, there is no way that I'm gonna relate to a vain drug-fucked shit cunt in a feline cult. If you want to try and make that happen now, you are way past the event horizon here, people. I've watched this film twice to review it, and I have no shame in saying that the second time, I just set the speed to double to get this movie over with faster.
I was abandoned.
Oh, poor thing. Would you like to see me make the jellicle choice?
So now we have a character trying to talk about something sensible and deep and personal, and you're just gonna drop the word jellicle all over it again. Fuck you, cats. Ian McKellen somehow got dragged into this film.
Touchwood.
Phrasing?
He does his own number, then gets snatched away by the Reaper, then there's tap dancing.
He looks awfully familiar. I think I saw him in Rent or Stomp or Clomp or some piece of crap.
I'm a cat that cannot be ignored.
That's funny because I seem to have no trouble ignoring you, pussyfoot. I'm just hoping that a train runs you over. Every musical number from here on out just becomes one big blurry memory because they're all the fucking same. All the cats audition for Judi Dench Cat, apparently to earn the title of Jellicle, which of course I still don't know the meaning of, and the Reaper doesn't pass the audition. So the film suddenly turns into Jumper, and he teleports her out to a boat intending to drown her.
It's me. Oh, you'll drown in that river. Down by the river.
Don't mess with the crazy cat lady.
Then there's a song where people use the word never and ever again and again and again and again and again, and then the famous song that keeps getting sampled in pop culture.
Open up and turn.
Phrasing. Shut up.
Memory, all alone in the moonlight.
Finally, about damn time.
This is depressing and not in a wow, I feel sorry for the character way. No, in a more of a this is monotonous and downbeat and I wish it was fucking done kind of way.
You are the Jellicle choice.
Oh, her arc is complete. She's the Jellicle one now. This means nothing. We get another musical number.
You should need no interpreter to understand our character.
So that was a fucking lie.
A cat is not a dog.
Really?
I believe you truly are a Jellicle cat.
Oh, that's nice.
The end. Is Cats a good movie?
Oh no.
The only achievement you can say about Cats is that it just dodges being one of the absolute worst movies I've ever seen. Once you become numb to just how bad this film is, it doesn't keep surprising you with its mediocrity. It just becomes repetitive. If it kept getting worse and worse, then I would call it one of the worst movies I've ever seen. This is just a piece of shit that reveals how bad it is early on and doesn't grow or sing from there. It just lingers. But unlike Les Miserables or The Sound of Music, which I could not get past the 2-hour mark of, this movie decided to have its credits start rolling in about 100 minutes. So that is the one thing that it seems to get correct, is being a short piece of shit. But nonetheless, this movie was such a feel-bad experience for me. It was confusing and convoluted and just brought back a lot of bad memories in some very inexplicable fashion. You know, it was so bad, I couldn't even be bothered searching it to try to find many places to put memes in. And that is the thing I love most about these videos, is putting those silly pop culture references in to make things more cheerful. There's just no way to make this film more cheerful. Nothing about Cats makes any sense. This is the vanity project of someone who had a bad acid trip while reading The Cat in the Hat and decided, yes, stage musical, ballet, stupid fucking names, Rebel Wilson. Apparently this was successful on stage, but I never want to see that and try to find that out. If this film is a faithful adaptation of the source material, then I can say that it emphasizes so many things that I do not stand for. I will credit this film for casting a lot of talented actors and some decent singers, and even though the visual style really weirded a lot of people out, in some strange way I can appreciate how the film constructed a world of anthropomorphic cats in an absurdist fashion. But beneath the surface, there is nothing here. In fact, it actually makes things worse. If this was just a crappy musical, then it would be forgettable, like At Long Last Love. No, with the weird language and visual style and everything else going wrong in this film, you will never forget this movie, no matter how hard you try. This is gonna haunt you until the end of time. There is no plot in this movie. It's like Dumbo. Dumbo was built entirely upon the gimmick of a flying elephant. This movie is just, let's have a bunch of fairies dress up as cats and dance around for a long period of time. Dumbo was a visual marvel for its time, and it had both sentimentality and a feeling of magical wonder which bolstered it. If you can find sentimentality in Cats, then good for you. I hope you can enjoy yourself. I just can't. When I think of musicals that have valid reasons to exist, one that I think of is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Sure, there was a sense of vanity in that, but it was self-aware. It was about enjoying life and taking advantage of all the guilty pleasures, and it did it with a pro-LGBTQI stance. It was very positive, and the songs were amazing. When I think of others, I think of Fiddler on the Roof, which was all about Jewish identity in a world rooted in anti-Semitism. Even Cannibal the Musical, that was one big satire on the musical genre. It was all taking the piss out of everything. What was the message in Cats? That LSD is a hell of a drug? There is no story here, and if you want to understand the characters, then you have to break down the language code of the songs, because there is almost no scenes of dialogue to help you decipher any of it. Generally, I hate musical movies that sing everything and don't stop to actually talk things through. One of the few times I found exception to this was The Greatest Showman, because despite the narrative shortcomings and the sheer amount of historical inaccuracy in that movie, that was a feel-good film. It was full of good spirit. Like I said, this movie really took me to a dark place, so there is no excuse. This movie is a fairy fantasy for theatrical elitists. It doesn't bother having any kind of an actual script. It just uses musical numbers, ballet, and fancy words as a pretentious excuse to parade itself around as art. But if you took this movie and replaced all that with professional wrestlers and NASCAR drivers, it would be called white trash. Because that is not considered high art. I would rather Cats be about wrestling and racing because that would be cleverly satirical. But this movie, on the other hand, is sincere, and it's a sincerely ugly mess. And the soundtrack? Well, you know, there are a few musical movies I've ever seen where I really fucking hate the soundtrack. Grease is one of them, because growing up in Australia, when one of the few things that Australia has actually done in Hollywood was get that Welsh actress Olivia Newton-John to appear in Grease and play an Australian character, we have had that song played again and again and again and again and again throughout our entire existence, to the point that I really want to kill someone. But Cats is the only other time I can remember really hating a musical movie soundtrack. With Cats, the songs are basically memes in themselves. They use words like Jellicle and Gumby and take other words like never and ever and then repeat them 100 times a minute. They're repetitive, the language is cryptic, they're just pathetic. A couple of years ago, I was introduced to the song Fuck Bees, where someone took the lyrics to It's Hip to Be Square and changed it to say It's Hip to Fuck Bees. Now that song, that has more originality and credibility than any of the songs in Cats. Yes, I said it. I remember fragments of some of the songs in Cats, but not because I want to. I want to try everything I can to forget them. Apparently Taylor Swift sung one of these, but I couldn't even tell which character was her because every character and song was the same piece of shit that the last one was. And according to Taylor Swift, the cast of this film had to go to a cat school where they spent literal hours at a time crawling and hissing at each other like kits. And okay, that's funny, and that's probably the one good thing that comes from this movie. Cats gets 1 cool cat out of 10. It is a symbolic reflection of everything wrong with the culture of musical theatre in the world. The vanity, the lack of substance, the sheer lack of meaning whatsoever, and it doesn't have any of the feel-good spirit that comes with a good side of musical theatre or any kind of understandable sensibility whatsoever. And that does it for today's episode of Delightfully Devilish, you guys. If there are any movies you want to see me discuss on this show, please leave them in the comment section below. If you want to see more episodes of this show, please hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, until next time, I have been your host, Jukebox Harry. Peace.